I think we're live. As usual, we'll give YouTube a moment and then get the party started. Hope everyone is doing well out there. I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com, and welcome to another live video here on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about how to respond quickly and automatically. And I'm going to give you some of the training that I give to my own kids. This is what I do for teaching people in my lessons, like in Fluent for Life or the Visual Guide to Phrasal Verbs or anything like that, where when we're in a conversation, we really want to make sure people are prepared to respond to the unpredictability of real life. So there's kind of stages in learning where we've got, at the beginning, you're just trying to learn and understand the words, but when you get into a real conversation, it's not like just practicing a piano or whatever. You really need to actually be prepared because communication is unpredictable. We don't know how people are going to say things or who's going to say what or whatever. But anyway, let's get into it. All right, so it looks like we are working here. Nice to see people there. I will keep my eye on chat, and as usual, I typically say the the video won't be that long, but we'll see how it goes. Roland, nice to see you there. George, Dinesh, Raul, and what is that? Oh, it's the same Dinesh. All right. Olympia, nice to see you there. And Akash, hi, Drew. How you doing? I'm doing all right. Hopefully, everyone else is doing fine out there. So I want to begin with just a quick story, as I often do. My older daughter, Aria, who is 10 years old now, she enjoys reading scary stories, as many young kids do. And this was an interesting one where this is actually a Japanese book, but we have some scary stories in English that they like to listen to those stories as well. But I don't know the one she was reading. She was just, again, reading some Japanese book. It was like a comic. But she was reading that, and I said, "Hey, like, how is the book? Is it good?" And she said, "Yeah, it's like an interesting story. Is it scary?" And I said, "Is it? Well, this thing is going to fall over on me. Is it a nail biter? Is it a nail biter?" Now, I didn't expect her to know this vocabulary, and so often what I'm doing when I'm introducing new vocabulary to her is I just introduce it and give her a moment to think about what that might mean. So, of course, I could say, like, is it a scary story? And, of course, she knows what that means, but I'm trying to expand her vocabulary. So she's prepared for a wider range of things that she will hear in real life. So I asked, well, is it a nail biter? Is it a nail biter? And she kind of looked at me like, a nail biter, and I said, well, are you like this, like kind of nervously biting your nails as you read the story? Now, you might not physically be doing that, but, not actually biting your nails, but do you feel tense? Do you feel nervous? Do you feel scared as you're reading the story? And she was like, well, not really. It's not really a nail biter, but it was a little bit scary. Obviously for kids, it's not like a truly frightening thing. But again, I wanted to teach her this vocabulary and said, so in addition to nail biter, there are other ways we might describe this as well. So another word we can use here, so to grip something like this, I can just kind of, if you look at the difference here, I'm holding this marker, just holding it, it's in my hand. I'm not putting too much pressure on it, but if I grip it, now I'm holding it quite tightly, to grip something. So typically we're holding on something like maybe I'm hanging off of this whiteboard here and I'm really holding on tight. So it's not just holding something, like I'm gently holding the marker here, but here I grip that thing, to grip something. So we could talk about being a gripping novel or a gripping movie or something like that. And so it's interesting when we hear these different expressions, if we're not prepared for these things in real life, someone might call something a nail biter, or they might say a story is gripping, or maybe they would say it's like thrilling, 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 so thrilling, or they might say it's white knuckle. This was a phrase that was used a lot, especially in the 90s, talking about movies, but when we talk about something being white knuckle, it's actually similar to the idea of gripping. So if you look at my hand right now, these are my knuckles right here, these little bone bump parts, the knuckles. Actually, each one of these, I think, is actually a knuckle. So it's basically the joints on your hands. But if I hold on to something really tight, like if I grip this marker really tightly, you can see as my knuckles kind of come out and it pulls the skin tightly, and you can see the bone underneath a little bit more, and it becomes white. So we're talking about white knuckle, meaning you're holding onto your chair really tightly as you're listening to something or watching a movie or reading a story. It's a white knuckle. White knuckle thrilling, like a white knuckle thrilling story, something like that. But again, all of these different things are ways that I will just take time and explain additional ways that we might say something. Because in a regular class, we might just say, is the book scary or is it not scary? And again, in real life, or whether you hear these things in movies or TV shows or whatever, you will hear all of this stuff in regular conversations. All right. So the point is, when we're talking about that automatic response training, what I'm trying to tell my daughters, or you all for that matter, when I'm trying to teach you all here, it's to be prepared even if you don't use all of these particular things. Hopefully you will be prepared for them, and maybe you have a particular one that you like and you use again and again, that's fine, but it's good to be prepared for what other people might say, okay? So when we talk about that automatic response training, I'm trying to give people lots of different ways of expressing things, and this is really true for basically anything. So I thought I might give you some more expressions as well for times where maybe you feel unsure in a conversation, like you're thinking of something and maybe you need a little bit more time, you have some kind of doubt or hesitation like that. I'll give you a few of those expressions as well, but if you have anything you'd like to use, maybe you're in a conversation or you can think about a recent conversation where you were thinking about something like, you know, I wanted to say this, but I just didn't have the right words, or I couldn't think of something particular to say. Let me know in the comments, and I'll give you a bunch of responses that you can practice with those. So again, when I talk about practice, it's not so much like sitting and trying to memorize these particular things. It's just understanding what they are, and that's really the difference between a good lesson and a bad lesson. So a bad lesson or just an okay lesson will give you information and make something understandable. But a good lesson or even a great lesson will actually make you feel confident about using something. So if you just hear an expression like white knuckle and then maybe you get a translation of that in your native language, maybe it doesn't really make sense or you don't understand exactly how to use it. But again, seeing something like imagining me holding on to my chair, you know, I'm watching a movie and I'm really leaning in. Like it's an exciting story, I'm getting more interested, I'm getting closer to the screen, I'm leaning in as I get more excited about that. So all of these different things can describe me being gripped, like the story was kind of gripping me. The story was gripping me. So if you have particular scenarios or situations where you'd like to say something and maybe you don't have a good way to express it, something like that, whatever people are interested in, let me know. But I'll just give you a few very quickly for those situations where maybe you can't think of something to say, because this is a pretty universal experience. So we can begin, again, the idea is just feeling. So feeling some kind of doubt, feeling some kind of doubt. And you're in a conversation and you like to say something, but maybe you don't know the best way to express it. And so you don't have to get nervous or worried about, what am I going to say? You can actually describe that in the conversation because natives do this all the time. So natives might think of like one expression, one way to say that is, it's on the tip of my tongue. So people might be thinking of something. It's like, I'm trying to remember. I went to this restaurant in New York City a few years ago. I can't quite remember the name of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. Like I can almost feel the word in my mouth. The word is on the tip. It's like right there on the tip, the end of my tongue, but I can't quite remember it. So this is an expression, something you can use when you're trying to think of what to say and you just want to continue speaking. And so often you can, sometimes if you're in a conversation with someone, they might even help you think about what that is. And often, like I talk about this in my program, Speak Like Me, where you're kind of inviting the other person to make more of a game out of it. Like you're giving the person clues. It's like, okay, I went to this restaurant in New York City. It's a famous place in this area, and maybe the other person knows something about that, and you're kind of talking about it without saying the actual name of the thing. And again, the whole purpose of this is to continue the conversation, to keep things flowing without feeling like you don't know one particular word and then you get stuck. All right? So natives, if they don't remember something, either they're talking about not remembering, which is kind of a funny thing. It's like, I can't quite remember, like, what do I want to say? And this is like another example of this, like you're just talking to yourself while you're in the conversation. It's like, what do I want to say? Or like, what's the word? Or it could be what's the word, or what's the expression, or what's the phrase, or whatever I'm looking for. So what's the word? Like it's on the tip of my tongue. What do I want to say? Or you can say, what do I want to say? So what do I want to say? What's the word I'm looking for? What's that word? It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. What's that expression? What's that word? What's that phrase? A similar kind of thing. But the purpose here, again, is in pretty much any situation, you can think about a variety of ways that you can say something. And so that's what natives are doing. When they don't have a particular thing they can remember, because natives forget things like the name of a restaurant or a particular expression or how to spell something even. It happens to natives all the time. But you don't really notice it because they easily switch to something else. So they can't think of the first thing, they just think of the next thing. And we can actually talk about forgetting something in a conversation. It's like, what's that word? What's that word? And you can see like it kind of, I'm trying to wake my brain up. What's that word? I heard that. I used it yesterday. I can't remember. What's that word? What's the thing I'm looking for? But as you pay attention, remember, as I'm always talking about, just like I talk about in my book, we want to be connecting situations. So we'll put an S here to the vocabulary. We're not trying to just translate something from your native language into English. We want to make sure we understand things. And we've got, so what's in this situation and what are the kinds of things that natives might say there? And that's what gives you this automatic response training where we're paying attention for these things, really trying to understand what they mean and feel confident about that. So when we get into that same situation, we can be prepared for what other people might say and also have a couple of different things to say ourselves. All right, let me go back and look at chat, see if I missed anything, any questions. But if you have any particular situations, maybe even a situation recently, you were trying to talk about something and you could not, or maybe you just couldn't think of it, or you're thinking about something right now and you'd like to know a better way or a variety of ways to express it, let me know. All right. Ordo says, hi there from Argentina. Nice to see you there. Tom, good morning. Emerson from Brazil. Tom, nice to see you there again. Christina from Brazil. Ordo says, you are the best. Well, you are too kind. Tom says, hola. And Bridget says, to my favorite teacher, Drew Badger. Well, hello, Bridget. Nice to see you there. Make your questions. Yes, you can say give your questions or ask your questions. Olympia says, artist hands. Artist hands. I don't know if you're talking about my hands or not. I wouldn't say I have the hands of an artist. I don't know. Maybe I do. Taco, nice to see you there. Vinicius from Uruguay. Diep from... actually, I don't know where you're from. Let me know. Hello, Teacher Drew. I live in the USA. Oh, okay, there you go. I have Fluent for Life already. I'm very enjoying your lessons inside courses. I appreciate it. Glad to hear it. Yes, Deep, nice to see you in the program. Let me know if I'm pronouncing your name. That sounds Vietnamese. Let me know if I'm incorrect about that. But yeah, welcome to the program. It's always nice to welcome new members in Fluent for Life. And yeah. Hope you enjoy. There are lots of things you can do, and you would say I'm very much. So here's a good way to particular situation right here. I can clear up some grammar. So if you're enjoying something, often when we're beginning just to use the language well, I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying. So that's one way we could express this, and very simple. Just I'm enjoying, like I'm enjoying the program, I'm enjoying the lessons, or you can just say I enjoy. Even I enjoy the lessons I enjoy. Or if you want to make it even more like then you can put in very much enjoying. I'm very much enjoying the lessons. Or we could even change the order of this. I'm enjoying the lessons very much. So there are many different ways you can do this. And again, as you go through the training, it will automatically help you with grammar mistakes and train you as you pay attention to the native examples in the program. Be sure to take your time, though. I know people get excited because they have this huge library of content or basically hundreds of lessons in Fluent for Life. I really encourage people, the purpose is really to take your time, so pick a lesson set or begin with the visual guide to phrasal verbs if you'd like to start there. That's another good place to begin. But take your time going through the training because the purpose is not just to know a lot of English, it's to actually feel confident about using it in your conversations. All right, so we want to help you erase that doubt, and you do that in simple steps, and the program will really help you. So nice to see you in the program. Let me know if you have any questions about it. Mike, very interesting way to say exciting. So are you asking for a different way to express that? A different way to express exciting? You could, if you're talking about exciting is an interesting word because it depends on the kind of excitement you're having. Like there's excitement like you just feel energized in some kind of way. It could be a positive thing or it could even be a scary thing. Like you're kind of excited by something that surprises you or scares you, that kind of thing. Let me know if you have a specific thing. I want to make sure I'm answering your question correctly, though. If you're looking for other ways to talk about the word exciting, or it could be even you're excited by seeing some attractive lady walk by, so that's a different kind of excitement also. Tom says, new vocabulary. CNC says, hey, how are you doing? I'm doing all right. Well, Haney, nice to see you there. I will study English hard today. Remember, you always talk about studying hard. I'm trying to make it easy for you. The whole point is if you can relax and just get good examples that help you understand the language and make you feel confident about using it, then there's not a bunch of stress really that you need. It's just relaxing and making sure you can understand well. If you try to force your brain to memorize things too much, often it just won't work for you. Your brain has to be open and relaxed, and that's why we enjoy watching movies or reading books or doing any of the things that we enjoy. We're just relaxing and enjoying. So I want you to feel the same way about learning this. So Tom says, welcome. CNC says, that happens to me all the time when I need to use a suitable word and I have a topic on my tongue. Yes, and so you can think about a particular thing you want to say, but maybe you can't remember exactly what it is or whatever. Remember, natives have this experience all the time. So they're trying to think of something and they can't think of exactly what to say, and that's all right. So you don't have to think here's the one way natives express things. And I know this is tricky, and lots of learners do ask me, Drew, can you please just tell me 300 sentences to memorize or something so that they can use those in their conversations. But I promise you, it's a lot easier if you know just a few things really well and you can understand them. This is another reason why I recommend my visual guide to phrasal verbs, or just even studying phrasal verbs in general, because even with a few of these things, you can combine them in a variety of ways to really make a lot of great expressions. So you don't need to have this really long list of random sentences. It's more about knowing the language well. And this is why children, so native children, even my young kids, like they can speak some Japanese better than I can. I probably know some more difficult vocabulary, but they're actually very good speakers and their English is coming along well also. But anyway, so remember that idea. We're thinking more about how we can express particular things, but in a variety of ways. And that way we're not worried about one specific thing and you're not nervous about forgetting it or anything like that. Rodolfo says, greetings from Changada, wherever that is. Where is Changada? Is that a city name or a country name? Well, I guess it's not a country name that I know of. Let me know. Conexión from Colombia. Nice to see you there. Bye. Happy birthday. Wishing you a great year ahead. Well, thank you very much. Yes, my birthday was, when was that? Like 3 days ago, 2 days ago. So I'm now 45. Oh my goodness. I think about how long I've been teaching. It's a long time. Over 20 years that I've been helping people and essentially doing the same thing, which is trying to help people really understand the language so they feel confident about using it. But thank you very much. Mike says, so do I. And Ji-hoon, I know see there, I'm giving about to learning prepositions. Giving about to learn. I'm giving about to learning prepositions, says June. What do you mean by that? Are you having trouble learning prepositions? Is that what you mean? You can find prepositions on my channel. I recommend just looking for specific things like in or on or whatever the particular thing is. Focus on a particular thing, get lots of good examples, and then I would expand out from that, like learning phrasal verbs. So this is where we talked about this, I think maybe that was last week or the week before, where we were talking about wipe down or wipe off or wipe over, things like that. But if you're trying to learn a preposition, like let's say we learn something like in, it's really difficult for people to understand this idea because they spend many years trying to translate a word. So let's say I'm like coming from Japanese and it's like naka. Like I'm trying to translate something directly from English into Japanese. And it's like, if I do that, there might be some times where the meaning is the same, but other times where it's not. Or even something more difficult like the word free, for example. So in has quite a few different usages, and often people will either try to translate it or they will try to learn every use of the word in, which is probably not a very good idea. That's why, like Deep or anybody else who is in Fluent for Life, you will see there is some overlap in the lesson sets where we might have a particular thing like in, but we're only covering maybe 2 or 3 uses of it, and then in another lesson we'll talk about different uses of the word, but it's for a particular context. So if we look at a word like free, if I translate that into Japanese, it could be like, what do you mean by free? Like, do you mean it doesn't cost any money, or do you mean it's like I'm like free, like in a liberal sense? I can go and do things without having to worry about, whatever. So again, the point is not to just learn the vocabulary, it's to make sure we connect the vocabulary with situations. Yeah, so Tom's got like one example. There's like muryo, like there's no cost to it, or we've got jiu, which is like freedom, as in like jiu ni totte kudasai, like you can go take something yourself. Like I remember going to a restaurant in Japan one time, and my friend thought the staff was going to bring some water. And she was just like, oh, like, go jiu ni dozo, like it's over there. And he was like, okay, I didn't realize I was going to get my own water. But she was basically saying like, yeah, it's free, like in both senses, like it's free to go get it and it doesn't cost you anything. Anyway, but this is where we're learning from context, and you understand what things mean because we're connecting the vocabulary with a particular situation. So if you have trouble with words, it's usually because, number one, you're trying to translate things directly, or number two, you're trying to learn a whole bunch of examples of things that aren't really connected to each other. Like for in, like I could talk about like in something physical, like inside a box, like here I am in a box over here physically in something. But I could be like in a particular mood as well. Like I'm angry right now. I'm in an angry mood. It's almost like I'm like a cloud around me. This is me. I'm like feeling angry. I'm in an angry mood right now. So it's a similar idea where I'm kind of inside something, but if you translate it, it can be a bit more difficult to understand. But for a native speaker, they recognize the connection between these two ideas. So again, if you have a particular word, typically things like prepositions are difficult for people, mostly because again the translation issue, or they're trying to study the word and understand how it works by looking at a bunch of examples that aren't really connected in an important or meaningful way to the learner. Anyway, so yes, if you're looking for things like that, you can definitely find prepositions on my channel, but I highly recommend you focus on a particular thing. Like again, just making sure you understand one usage of in, like I'm in a good mood today. I'm in a bad mood today. I'm in a tired mood today. All right. Anything like that, we're just focusing on one thing until we really understand that usage of a particular word. Okay. All right. Let's see if we got some more. What did I miss up here? Good to see comments over here, though. All right, where did I miss? Okay, Mike says, how's it going again? Tom, hit the like button. Drew deserves it. Well, you guys are too kind. Farhad says, hello. Mohammed says, a representative. I got a problem when I pronounce that and use it. Are you talking about the word that, or are you talking about something else? If you have questions about pronunciation specifically, I highly recommend you get Frederick. This is my app for teaching pronunciation, so it will actually train you the same way natives learn the language. It will take you through phonics. These are the sound rules of English, and if you learn this way, I don't even have like a good name for how exactly it works. It's kind of funny thinking about this for writing my book when I'm trying to explain some of these things. So I'm working on a book right now, if you don't know already. It's called The Strangest Fluency Secret. And it's basically explaining to people how language learning can work when you're not trying to force yourself to learn. So there's an alternative way of learning where instead of trying to force yourself to speak before you're ready, you actually spend more time trying to understand the language. And part of the book is talking about Frederick and how it learns, or how you learn with it. So what I do in Fluent for Life is what I call guided discovery. So this is basically a style of teaching where you're trying to help people discover something, and I don't want to just tell you the answer. I want to really help you basically find the answer, but make finding the answer really easy and simple. But you still need to figure it out for yourself. So, for example, if I just give you a translation of something, I'm giving you an answer. Oh, this thing means this. And when people are like talking about like how do they remember something, or they're having trouble with the language, that idea of trying to translate something, like I already talked about for prepositions, it can be a very difficult way to learn them because you don't really remember it, you don't really know, you don't understand the thing in the language. But if I can help you discover that like lesson or the meaning of something by yourself, I can lead you there, but I want you to make that discovery. So it's called guided discovery. But for Frederick, it's even going to a higher level where it's kind of a broader example where you have many more options, but you can control and play with the language so that you can discover how it works for yourself. So initially it takes a little bit longer because you're trying to understand how it works, but I promise you that effort of putting in just like a little bit, kind of like you would try to solve a puzzle or solve a mystery or something like that. You enjoy, most people do anyway, you enjoy solving these kinds of things. You're using a little bit of energy, but it feels good when you solve the puzzle or when you discover something on your own. And so that's why discovery or guided discovery works. So I'm trying to lead you in that same way to understand things. So whatever the particular thing is, so like if you're trying to learn prepositions or you're trying to learn the pronunciation of a particular word, another thing I talk about in the book is that instead of trying to learn the pronunciation with just one example, we really want to hear multiple speakers saying something. So when I was a boy and learning English as a native speaker, I'm getting examples from my mom and my dad and my sisters and TV shows and teachers and friends and all kinds of people. And so when I hear all of these examples, I get to create my own natural speaking voice. So I have a unique speaking voice, but I still sound native. So that's what we're looking for. But Frederick will give you lots of good examples and you can hear them. It's only my voice at the moment, but again, if you want to learn how to pronounce things not only individually, but hearing them blended in sentences, Frederick will do that for you. But it's a great way to get that guided discovery. I don't know, maybe I'll think of another term that's kind of even at a higher level than that. But it's essentially trying to get people to where they can really understand something by themselves, and that's where they'll feel very confident about using it. All right, as usual, I'm taking more time to to answer things, but yeah, again, like if you have a question about like how to say something or how to pronounce it or whatever, like these are all things that we do in Fluent for Life, or you can find them in Frederick. But if you're trying to understand this way of learning, I highly recommend getting the book. You will find links for all these things below this video. All right, let's see. So Jillian says, I'm giving up to learning prepositions. Oh no, don't do that. Don't give up. So here you would say to give up on, that's actually the phrasal verb, to give up on doing something. Like I gave up on like learning a particular thing. Or you can just say like I gave up learning a particular thing. But you'll hear both of those, to give up something or to give up on doing something. The meaning is slightly different, but in this case you can use both of those the same way. But don't give up on prepositions. Remember, focus on a particular thing. It's also helpful if you tell me how you're trying to learn them now, so that way I can lead you in a better direction. But no matter what you're trying to learn, I highly recommend you get the book, because the book will actually show you how you can learn all of this stuff, because it goes through that, like chapter 5, we talk about vocabulary, grammar, any kind of phrases, pronunciation, of course. Frederick is in there. I talk about sound transitioning in the book as well, how you can develop these skills even on your own. So I really made the book open for people no matter what you're trying to do, but don't give up. I understand your frustration, especially because most lessons will make it actually more difficult for you to understand things and use them confidently. So I understand. But give me more information. Let me know how you're trying to learn now. Hakim says, hello from Canada. Han says, what do you think about dictation? Does it help for listening skill? Yeah, sure. So I recommend this with Fluent for Life. You should do a little bit of writing and reading with the program. So you might listen to some of it. You don't have to write the whole lesson. You just pick some section of it that you're interested in and try to listen and see if you can write that down. You can check the transcript to see if you're correct. But yeah, this is a bit more ear training, but it's kind of one piece of this process. So another part is also hearing, again, as I mentioned, different natives saying the same thing, which you do in the lesson sets as well. So whether you're learning with me or not, dictation is good, but you also want to get that variety, and really the variety is even more important than the dictation, because it's, again, training you to think and be able to hear these different people saying things. So I might hear one person, even as a native English speaker, I might hear one person say something and I'm not quite clear about it, like even some song lyrics, but then I read them or I hear them spoken by someone else, and it's clear to me, okay, that's what they're saying. So yes, like dictation is good, but also make sure you get a variety of different speakers. CN says, when will you finish the book? Because I need it now. Well, do you already have the first 6 chapters? So I've basically been writing it and reading it. Well, not reading. Well, I kind of reading it also. So I'm releasing it. That's what I meant to say. I'm releasing it in steps. So each time I release or finish a chapter, I'm releasing it. Chapter 7 has taken a while because I've tried to rewrite it. I've written it and then rewritten it. It's been kind of a pain because it's chapter 7 is after I've already given the method for actually how you can do these things, but chapter 7 comes back and explains why it all works. And so this is kind of, for people who don't know, in the story of The Strangest Fluency Secret, this is how I got fluent in Japanese and figured out this alternative way to learn that's basically the opposite of what most people do. So instead of trying to learn something very quickly and then repeat it again and again, and hopefully I become fluent, it's basically the exact opposite, where I'm trying to really understand things well, and then that allows me to speak. So speaking becomes the result of the practice rather than the practice being the speaking. So in that case, what I'm doing with the book already, if you already have the book, you can go through and read up through chapter 6. Chapter 7 will be done whenever I'm finished with it, but I'm working on it right now. And it's been frustrating because each time I sit down to write it, I'm like, I don't know if I want to express it this way, or I want to put these things in a different order, and then I take some time to think about it. So I'm trying to get it done quickly. I especially wanted to get 5 and 6 done quickly because that really gives you the method. I didn't want people to be waiting for that. But again, chapter 7 is more talking about conclusions and why things work the way they do. I'm also thinking maybe I should put some brain science stuff in there, but maybe not. Like, people might not need that. I don't know. But like the things I talk about are backed up by science if people care about that, but maybe they don't. A lot of this is quite intuitive once you realize it. So once you discover, like I can't speak because I actually don't feel confident about my words, that seems like a pretty reasonable thing for people. But if you don't realize that, if you think you just need to study more words or learn more vocabulary and practice speaking more and things like that, if you think you just need more, then you're always going to be chasing fluency rather than just trying to get fluent in the things you already know, or even new things by learning them and understanding them really well. So anyway, yes, I'm working on that. If you don't have the book already, you don't have to wait for the whole book to be completed. And another reason why I'm releasing the book in stages is so I can get feedback from people about, if they understand things or they do not. But so far, people have really enjoyed the book. I haven't had any, bad reviews of it. Nobody has really wrote back and said this doesn't make any sense or whatever. But let me know, anybody who's already reading it, let me know what you think of it so far. But yeah, if you're talking about needing the book, it's already available. Just click on the link in the description. But there's really not much to wait for as far as like the actual teaching goes. But I will be giving people like kind of an even better understanding of how it all works in chapter 7. Because basically the way I've been writing it is like the story of me discovering how it works. And I've had to write it like that because if I just tell you what the method is up front, people won't believe me. So I've been trying to do that for years, and I just thought, okay, I better just write a book so people understand all this. All right, Wodonos, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, from Brazil. Andoa says from Sudan. Rolla says, you remind me the other proverb. Give me an example from the top of your head. Yeah, so it's not really like a proverb. It's just an expression for, like, I can't really think of anything, but I can give you an example just off the top of my head. So I can't, if I have more time, I can maybe think of some good examples. But for right now, let me very quickly give you something off the top of my head. So if I go into a meeting, like a business meeting with my boss, and he says, hey, I need help. We need to figure out how to, sell this thing or fix this problem. And I say, okay, you're just telling me about this now. let me think about that for a minute. But if you want me to think of something immediately, just off the top of my head, here's an idea maybe we could try. So I'm not just doing it, quickly, like for no reason. It's just if people want like an answer or something like that, here's something off the top of my head. It's not really a proverb, though. A proverb is more where we're trying to teach people a lesson about something. Like trying to think of a good one, like, I don't know, like slow and steady wins the race or whatever. That's more of an idea where we're trying to teach a lesson rather than just like, here's an idea off the top of my head. All right. Let's see. And CNC says, ha ha. I can believe you were born in the same month like me. It turned in my 40s a couple of weeks ago, so cheers, man. Well, thank you very much. Chrono Ghost, hey, Drew, is there a difference between saying thanks for having me and thanks for having me on? I hear both a lot on podcasts. Yes, so again, like the point there about mentioning like thanks for having me on, and then you gave the context, that's the same idea before of like here's a situation, and then here's the vocabulary we're using. So you hear people say both, thanks for having me, like thanks for having me here, in the same way I might go to someone's house for dinner. Oh, thanks for having me at your house, or thanks for having me over for dinner. And so it's a similar kind of idea when you join someone on a podcast like that. You can say both of these for this situation. So thanks for having me on, because it's like on the show, on the air, in the way we would talk about radio. So both of those are fine for this context, but very good. Let's see, Mike says, I really lap up watching your lessons. All right, now this is a tricky thing to lap something up, like you can imagine a cat like drinking from a bowl, like to lap up some milk, like to lap like that. But here you would just say, I really lap up your lessons, rather than I lap up watching your lessons. Like that's kind of implied that you're watching the videos. But to lap them up, that would be all you need to say. So I really lap up your lessons. So again, and Tom is asking about lap, and like, and here's another thing, like if somebody asks me, does that fit in here? When people ask a question like, what does lap mean? I say, it depends. It's got like different meanings of the word lap depending on the situation. So lap can mean like if I'm sitting, here's my body and the top of my legs up here, and these are my knees. This is my lap, like that area right here. Or I can also talk about lapping, like to lap something physically, like the verb to lap up, like a cat drinking milk. Or we can talk about a lap, like in a racetrack. So you go around the track one time is one lap. Or swimming, same thing, like you're doing laps in the pool, even if it's just going back and forth like that to do laps. So always remember, don't just look at the word by itself. We always want to learn the word in context. We want to connect the situation to the vocabulary. And so often children, they might learn like, sit in my lap from the parent, or sit on my lap. We covered that in the last video. So sit in my lap or sit on my lap, and then maybe when they get a little bit older, they hear a new example of like, oh, they're doing laps in the pool, and the child thinks, oh, that's interesting. It's the same word, lap, but they're using it to describe something else, and that's where your understanding expands. But it's important to try to really connect a meaning with a particular situation to give that anchor to your brain before you start introducing a bunch of new stuff. So be careful as you're learning these things over here. All right. Emerson says, do you teach private lessons? No, I do not. I have taught them in the past, but the reason I don't, number one, is because it would be too expensive for people. Number two, I actually don't. I don't really recommend people learn with any private lessons. It's certainly helpful, but you will improve a lot more with variety. So getting a wide range of examples from different natives rather than just one teacher. So often people think they need private lessons, but when they do, and I know lots of people, especially here in Japan, who have taken private lessons for years and they still don't feel confident speaking. And that's because they will take private lessons and they will begin to have a relationship and understand that teacher very well. The teacher will try to make things very easy, and typically for the learner, like, okay, we're going to teach you things, you get used to my voice, but you really need to have lots of examples with a wide range of people. So even when I'm teaching my own kids, it's kind of like a private lesson, but I'm also using lots of examples of things outside of that, so from TV shows or books or whatever, where my girls can learn lots of vocabulary, but also hear many examples outside of what I'm saying. So the same thing with Japanese, as they're learning, they hear Japanese from me and their mom and lots of different people or TV shows or whatever. And so it's that variety that people really need. Although, again, there are things that people think they really need. And I mean, there is benefit from private lessons, but like it's easy to get private lessons anywhere, anytime. There's nothing really special about just having access to a native speaker. But what you would really need is, if you're trying to get kind of the highest level of this, is a whole bunch of different native speakers who also know how to teach like I do. So if you had like a group of like 10 of them and they could all make the language very easy and understandable, that would be really the best thing you could do. If you would pay for something like that, that's a different question. But that's basically what we do in Fluent for Life. So I've taken that experience and then put that into one program. So I help you understand the language, but I use a whole bunch of natives to actually help you understand and get that naturally varied review so you get fluent without needing to wait for private lessons. So that's again why I don't do it. I don't know, maybe people keep asking me for private lessons and I haven't offered those in years. And again, it can be helpful for understanding things, but there's nothing like I would really do differently in a private lesson that I would do right here in a video. So it's like if you say, hey, listen to my pronunciation and correct it. I would just say, okay, I can, help you tweak certain things. But like when I'm doing that in Japanese, what I'm actually trying to do is listen to a couple of different native speakers say something. And that's what helps me develop that sound, because I'm not trying to sound exactly like one teacher. I want to find something that fits my voice, like my physical mouth and the way I speak, and my voice is going to be different from everybody else's. So again, like private lessons can be helpful for some things, but if you're really trying to get fluency, it's a lot faster just to get a bunch of native examples in a systematic way. So that's why I do what I do in Fluent for Life. Olympia says, we are enjoying your classes. Glad to hear it. CNC says, what a mess here. Frederick, download it right now. Yes. Well, thank you, Tom. Always good with the promotion over there. Yes. And if you would like to download Frederick or the book or get Fluent for Life, you can click on the links in the description below this video to get all of those. So hi there, long time no see. Happy to be back, says Access. Nice to see you there. Thank you for your book. I'm on chapter 6 now. Well, welcome to the program. Welcome back. Welcome to the book. Glad to see you in there. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have specific thoughts about the book, or maybe some things you'd like to see or something you don't understand or anything else like that. Again, I'm writing it with learners, and some people have already given me really good feedback that's been helpful for making it even better. Yes, hit that like button. Britt says, Drew, I'm interested in flip the switch in communication like you say. Yes. And so basically what happens is like what I talked about in the last video, and it's been, I don't know, I can be honest with you guys. It's like I've been teaching the same way for a long time, many years. But it's been a tricky thing to try to explain how it works. Like why, like a learner would think like, well, why is Drew different than anybody else? Like aren't all English lessons the same? And it's like, no, but it takes time to explain that to people. And so this idea of flipping the switch is that when you're in communication, so the moment you try to speak. This is the real key right here that stops people at that moment. The moment you try to speak, you're in a conversation, someone says something to you, or maybe you see something and want to express yourself. The moment you try to speak, either you feel confident about what you want to say, or you do not. That's it. It's a binary thing. Binary. Bi meaning like one or the other. So two things, like a bicycle. It's a binary. And this is why, like, you can spend a lot of time learning, but until you get to the point where I feel confident about saying something, it's not really helping you very much. So you could spend a month even focusing on a particular word, just trying to learn it. But if you don't really feel confident about using it when you speak, then that fluent communication switch hasn't flipped in your brain. And so everybody has this, like I just call it the fluent communication switch because it's an easier way for people to understand this. And that's why I also started talking about certainty as a thing people need, because if I just say, like people will have, another very common question I get from learners is, why can I understand? And it could be like understand me or understand other people or whatever, but why can I understand but not speak? Or it could be like struggle to speak or whatever the thing is. And the reason I try to explain to people is like, you know something, but you don't know it well enough to use it in a conversation. And instead of just saying like a lack of understanding, I've tried to explain it that way, but it's really just a lack of certainty. So if you don't feel confident about what you want to say, then you're not going to say it. You might try to say something anyway, and I know some people do, like that is a thing. You don't have to feel certain, but most people don't like making mistakes in front of other people, even children. So if you're unsure about how you say something, it's more difficult for you to try to express yourself. And so that's why I focus on the moment you try to speak, instead of trying to force yourself to prepare like while you're speaking. So people they learn something a little bit, then they spend a lot of time trying to speak, or they don't have any speaking opportunities at all. And in that case, they don't really feel they have a way to improve. So I do the opposite, and that's really making sure you understand things. But if I can get you to flip that switch from not feeling certain to feeling certain like that, if I can flip that switch in your brain, or basically lead you to have that moment, and you can feel that. So anytime I'm teaching, I'm trying to get you through that guided discovery process of giving you maybe a story or a visual example or something like that, where I can get you to flip that switch. But that's where you finally feel confident. You can actually feel that happening in your brain, so you know it's working, and that's where you feel confident about using something. So for anybody who does not know, that's the basic idea. So I talk about this in the book, or in my, actually the previous video last week, I was talking about this idea as well. But it's a common thing I talk about. Let's see. Tom again says it actually depends on your effort. Are you talking about me or the learner? Duran says, is it possible to learn words, phrases, sentences that I could use in a conversation during my first day of job in one day? I guess it depends on what your job is and who you have to talk with, and I need some more information. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible to, depending on how you learn, be prepared for a particular job. Like, what do you do? I mean, think about people working at, I don't know, McDonald's or something like that. They teach you specific phrases, and those are things like, hello, may I take your order, and how can I help you, and would you like fries with that, or whatever kinds of things like that. But yeah, like I don't see why it wouldn't be possible to learn things quite quickly that way. Let's see. And Kumuru says, hello from Sri Lanka. I watch your videos to improve my listening skills while reviewing grammar lessons. Glad to hear it. Mohammed says, what about I don't get or catch all the grammar like I am, were, etc. That makes me confused. How can I deal with it in the right way? So the first thing is focus, just like I talk about in my book. So if you're thinking about like, you've just given some examples of to be. So to be, like I am, or you are, or he or she is, or whatever. The first thing to do is just to make sure you get I am. So I am happy. I am Drew. I am tired. I am new here. I am a teacher. I am, whatever. Anything you're talking about, the description of something. But the purpose is, just like I talk about in the book, and I will talk about this a lot more in chapter 7, where I'm talking about practice, is the first thing we really want is understanding. We want to feel certain about understanding, like we know what something means, because if we don't feel certain about it, then we're definitely not going to talk about it, and trying to just get more examples or say it faster or whatever is not going to be very helpful. But you pick one thing and focus on it and get a bunch of examples and make sure you understand the thing within English. So not needing translations. If you need a translation for something, it means you don't understand it. So you need to understand things in English. That's why I teach in English. Even when I taught like private lessons here in Japanese, like I would teach people in English because I wanted them actually to understand, and they wanted to speak. And so they knew, okay, if I just explain something in Japanese, it's not really going to help them. I need to actually prepare them to guide them to understand things in English. So pick a particular thing and make it as simple as you need to for your situation. So you begin with I am, even something very simple like that, and just get a couple of different situations related to this, like I just gave, like I am tall, I am happy, I am, something else, like I'm talking about maybe adjectives, I'm describing myself, or I am busy, or I am my age, like I am 45 years old, or I am whatever. There's lots of examples that we can get with this, that we, just by focusing on this thing, that's what actually helps you understand things. So once you got that, you can try doing a similar thing with you are, or we can talk about it in the past with whatever that thing is. But again, the purpose is focus, to make sure you really understand something and you can use it well, and then move on to something else. So if you don't feel confident and you have to translate that thing, you don't know it well enough. So just find the smallest thing that you can focus on, even something very simple like I am, and that will help you improve your pronunciation and grammar and using the vocabulary with a wide range of situations. Most people just don't do this. They go very quickly. They're trying to learn all these things at the same time, and the purpose is not to know the grammar rule. It's to be able to use the language without thinking and hesitating. So that's why we get these examples. And it's the same way I train my kids at home, the same thing I do for learning Japanese, or what I do in Fluent for Life. People will go through all of those examples. That's the whole point. We really want to make sure you understand the language well, because if you do not, then you will not feel confident about using it. All right, Hector says, I am looking for a word when ordering food. I want the cheese switched to bacon. I don't like cheese. Well, if you can do that, like you can ask for like a substitute. So that's one way of expressing it. But yes, this is a very common situation, to substitute. Well, let me see if here. Let me give you something even easier. Just say switch. Or you could say instead. So that'll be even easier. So if you're there are two parts to this. The first one is if you can not have a particular thing, you can just say hold the whatever. So let's say I'm at Subway, like the sandwich place, and I'm asking them to make something for me. I can just say like hold the whatever, like hold the bacon. So don't put bacon on my sandwich or whatever. But I could just say like, let me get extra cheese. And you could say like substitute, like do you guys do substitutions, or could I switch bacon for cheese? Like could I have no bacon but put extra cheese on it or something like that, or whatever. So there are different ways. Or could I have cheese instead of bacon? Whatever you like. But there are different ways you can express this, and watching some videos on YouTube of people ordering food at restaurants would give you some good examples of that. But it's another good thing. So you could talk about something by itself, like hold the mayo, hold the lettuce, hold the tomatoes, hold whatever. You know, I don't like any of that stuff on my sandwich or my pizza or something like that. Or I could get extra, or I could switch from one thing to another. So you can ask people like, can I switch, or may I, or could I switch from bacon to cheese? Or could I get cheese instead of bacon? All of those are fine. But again, like when you're looking at examples of these things, you can get just by seeing people in these situations, you will have lots of good examples of it. All right, Peter says, happy birthday. Hope all your wishes come true. I'm from Chukotka, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the most remote region of Russia, and we're not far from Alaska, about 82 kilometers away, and we're close to Japan, just 3 hours ahead. Oh, look at that! So that's in the near the Bering Strait, I guess. Very cool. I lived in Alaska for a little bit. Jihoon says, what's the difference both before describing a word while after describing it? What's the difference both before describing a word while after describing a word? I don't understand that question. I apologize. I'm looking at this. So you're saying what's the difference both before describing a word while after describing a word? Give me two sentences you're trying to compare. I don't quite understand what you're asking with that. Access says, about the book, what I really appreciate is the scientific approach you established to learn a second language. I was also amazed by the aspects of reaching the aha moments and puzzle completion. Glad to hear it. So I don't know if I need to establish further, like the kinds of things, like if people need to hear about, like brain studies and things like that basically prove what I'm talking about as far as you needing to discover things on your own, or that kind of learning is much more powerful. And I don't even have a good explanation for why this is. Like I've seen people try to describe it, but it's not really perfectly clear. The basic idea is that if you discover something yourself, you feel a lot more ownership of the idea, and it gives you more proof of something. Like if I see something happening, even if I get tricked, if I see something happening, I'm much more likely to believe that rather than just hearing that same thing from other people. And so this is related, like in the book, that's why I talk about trying to lead people to the conclusions that I have about how you should be learning, about this alternative way to learn. But I don't want to just tell you what it is, because if I tell you, it's like giving you a translation. It's like ruining the movie mystery by just telling you the answer, like what happens or whatever. So I need to guide you. I kind of explain this guided discovery process, and people will see this in the like the Fluent for Life lesson sets. I talk about how the purpose of the teacher is to guide you to the discovery. But like if we do an arch example over here, so I've sometimes done lessons for teachers about how to teach this way, and so I talk about building an arch for learners. And so the teacher's job is to build this part and this part over here. And that way the student recognizes, oh, like this part naturally just slots right in there, and that's where it connects the whole thing. So if the student has to build all of this stuff too, that's what makes the language a lot more difficult than doing something like just having the teacher prepare all of that for you. So Fluent for Life is preparing all of this stuff for you, so that way you can just naturally get all these aha moments and feel more confident about learning. So you continue that guided discovery process. You can do it by yourself, and I show you how to do that in the book, but if you'd like me to do it for you, that's what Fluent for Life does. Let's see. But yeah, let me know if you need any more proof in the book about science, about that stuff, because I'm still debating whether to put that in the book or not. I don't know, like maybe people need to hear that, or maybe they don't, or whatever. I've really tried to make the book something that you can actually feel the truth of it yourself, and you can test the book and know whether I'm telling the truth about it or not. It's very easy to know, like while you're reading it, you should be feeling more confident, you should be understanding how the process works, even if I don't have like a scientific study says this or whatever. I really wanted you as the reader to feel that. I can't read the Cyrillic, but hello, do you live still live in Japan? When are you going back to make America great again? Yes, I still live in Japan currently. America, man, I'm kind of worried about America, honestly. I don't know what I can do specifically to make America great again, but one of my missions in life, like connected to the teaching stuff I do, is if America is a place where we have lots of immigration, then we're going to have all these people who speak different languages trying to learn and function together. And it's really difficult for teachers in classrooms there right now. So if we have an elementary school teacher and she's got kids in her class, or like his class or whatever, that speak 10 or 20 different languages. It's really difficult to teach all these people and prepare them for just living in America. So if again, America remains as it is, and English is the language of the country, then people need to be prepared for that easily. So that's part of the reason I built Frederick. So it's not just for adult learners, it's one system that anybody who speaks any language can use to learn English. So it's not like English for Thai speakers or Japanese speakers or whatever. It's just learning the system all in English. And so it's the first of its kind for that kind of teaching. So that's the thing I can do now to make America great again, even if I'm not in the country. So we'll see if I can physically do anything while I'm there. But at the moment, I don't have a plan to return other than for vacations or something. We'll see. Maribel, nice to see you there. Mr. Fish says, the best teacher. Look at that. Even fish love me. That's awesome. Emmanuel says, hello. And CNC, one of the things with what I struggle with, one of the things you think, I guess, is when I need to describe what's around me. I don't know, but it's hard, like my back hurts. I dropped the phone. The dog is rolling on the grass. Yeah, and so again, these are just kind of regular things that natives just do automatically because we've seen many examples. And I talk about this in chapter 6 of the book, and how when people are learning things in the native way, when you're just getting lots of good native examples, you see all these things. But you also see how like we talk about the dog, let's say, was rolling in, or you could say on in this case, like the dog was rolling in the grass. Now I could take that same idea and also say like the child was rolling on the floor. And so not only are we learning ways of expressing things, we're taking these patterns and then learning how to apply them in other situations. So I can talk about a child rolling on the floor like this in the same way that like a dog could be rolling on the floor. And so again, as you're getting native examples, you hear more things. It's about developing that magnetic vocabulary where you can use things without thinking. So yeah, like it's an interesting thing, and as you get more examples, really focus on the pattern. You don't have to think about memorizing a particular thing for that situation, because we could also talk about like the dog was lying or playing or just like sitting or whatever in the grass, or we could talk about rolling around or playing around on the grass or digging or burrowing into the grass. There are lots of different ways we could express this. So it's that mix of different examples that helps you build fluency and understanding, rather than you trying to think about like, when you see a dog do this, this is the one way we say that. Natives aren't thinking about that at all. They're thinking, okay, how can I express this? And there could actually be a wide range of different ways of saying that. So very good. Keep paying attention to different native situations, and also see how natives express that particular thing differently. All right, I'm trying to move pretty quickly through these, but let's see here. All right, Maribel says, I can't understand music in English. Yeah, like I would listen to some children's songs first. That's what I do in Japanese. So listen to some children's music and also read the lyrics if you're trying to understand music. And it's tricky because in music, it's not just about the language. People are trying to use some slang or poetic language and things that are, it's just often quite different than how people would speak in a real conversation, also because people are trying to rhyme things. But yeah, so try to take it to an easier level and then come back to some more difficult, like mumble rap. When people are like, I don't even understand what they're saying, you know. So don't feel too bad about that. Chrono says, Drew, the Japanese counting system is such a pain. How did you manage to learn it? Japanese counting? Are you talking about like counters, like a like ichimai, nimai, like that? You're talking about? Let me know specifically what you're talking about. Maribel says there's a funny. It looks like a Cookie Monster or something, whatever that is. Peter says, what do you think about my journey of learning English? I can compare it to the friction on the surface of my mind. It's like I'm trying to scratch the surface of a metal cylinder. What do I think about my journey? What do you think? So what do I think about my journey of learning English? I can compare it to friction on the surface of my mind. It's like I'm trying to scratch the surface of a metal cylinder. I kind of get what you like. The metal cylinder feels very thick at first, but it seems like I've made deep wrinkles in some places. Yeah, it sounds like you're experiencing friction in terms of understanding, if I'm reading that correctly. But again, focus on a particular thing. When you talk about fluency in general, that's such a big thing that it's really hard for your brain to understand what that is. And that's why you think of a metaphor like scratching a cylinder or something like that. But if you can focus on a particular thing, then it'll be much easier, and I can also give you better advice for that. Manuel says, how do I get your book? Just click on the link in the description below this video, and you can get instant access to it, the digital version. When I finish it, I would like to have a actual paperback, at least, version of it, and I'd also like to make translations of the book, because I don't want only like adult people who already know a lot of English to understand the book. Everybody should have access to this information. All right, Dua says, happy birthday, and hold the. Yeah, so hold the. Very easy. It's like hold that, like wait up, hold on a second, hold that. So Diep says, what content does Frederick's course have? So Frederick is different from Fluent for Life. Frederick is more focused on pronunciation, and it is that higher level of discovery learning where rather than me explaining it to you, you should just click on the link in the description before, or the description below this video, and you can learn more about Frederick. But the basic idea there, actually, I might as well just explain it a little bit. Excuse me, got stuff in my throat today. But I made my my famous special mint water. I've got an awesome system, so I have a mint plant growing at my house, and I will cut some little sprigs. That's a new word maybe for some people. This word is actually in Frederick. Sprig. Sprig is like a small like a little piece of a plant, you know, here's some leaves on it. So it's not a full plant, but I cut a small section of it, and that is a sprig of something, so a sprig of a plant. But I can use it in the water, and then I plant it again, and I can use it again. It's amazing. Anyway, let me get back to the example here. So about Frederick, what most people are doing when they're learning pronunciation is they usually have like, so we get one, and then status, and then a flex, and you know, you might have a bunch of different random words that we're trying to pronounce. So the teacher says one, and then you repeat after the teacher. Say, okay, one, and then you say one, and then status, and then you say status. Flex, and then you say flex. But if you actually look at these things, it's a couple of different pronunciation rules, but they're mixed together, and it's more difficult for you to figure that out. So it's much better to learn these things in order and really understand them the same way natives do. And so this is using the sound rules of English called phonics. And so you'll hear that same phone sound. So that just means sound. Like a telephone. Telephone is like long distance sounds. Like that's why we call it telephone or television. Anyway, having the sound rules, if you know what these are, so we begin with even short things, like let's say cat. So you're learning the individual sounds, a k, at, cat, and then maybe in a later level we put an E on that, and now we understand how that A changes from a at short vowel sound to a Kate sound. But I don't want to just tell you a bunch of rules like this. I want you to discover those yourself, because you will learn them faster and it will be much easier to remember them that way. So again, that's the whole point of this guided discovery process. I'm trying to make the conditions so you have different scrollable wheels. For example, it would say like C, D, F, like that. And then you would have another wheel over here. And so we can mix and match these different wheels, and you can just play it on your phone or on your tablet or whatever, and actually teach yourself English pronunciation. You discover the pronunciation yourself. So this is different from the video training that we have in Fluent for Life. It's an app that actually lets you play with the language and teach yourself the sounds and grammar and pronunciation and things like that way. So it's for beginners, but also there will be lots of vocabulary in there that you don't know, and it's actually good, like based on a lot of vocabulary or grammar errors that I see, even for adult learners who know a lot of English. Frederick is really helpful for preparing them for those things. So we'll really teach you those things very quickly, and you can click on the link in the description below this video to learn more about Frederick. All right, let me see if I get through these last couple of comments over here. All right. Access again, remark. I think your approach is very helpful for learners who can read and improve from written sources, but it's not for non-readers. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Well, if you're talking about the format of teaching in a book, then yes, obviously, if you don't like reading at all, or you don't like listening to an audiobook, you're not going to learn from it. But the actual approach itself is not for people specifically who are reading or not reading or anything, because it's just about helping your brain understand the language in the language. So it's like for teaching my daughters, I need to teach them English in English, not try to teach them English through Chinese or Turkish or some other language. So yes, the book as a format for teaching itself, I thought it was the fastest way for me to put all of the information in one place. And maybe some people don't like reading a book, and that's why I have these videos. Actually, I've gone through many of the chapters already and explain the different points of that. But for the people who want to read a book and understand how the whole thing works, I might maybe in the future make a video about that, like kind of a video of The Strangest Fluency Secret. I've done this before, but I think the book itself, it really lets you get lots of good examples, but the learning itself happens in a number of ways. You can watch things or listen to things or whatever is appropriate for the situation. So it's not like the book is just a means of teaching the way of learning and how it works. Gioan says, what's the difference? Adjective plus noun, a noun plus adjective. Ah, is that what you're saying? What's the difference? Adjective plus noun versus noun plus adjective. All right, so this is a perfect example of something where, like, I understand why you would want the answer to that, but it's not really going to help you speak more fluently or really understand that. What I would really recommend you do is pick a specific thing. The way your brain is actually trying to learn is it's like you give your brain some information, and then your brain is trying to understand, okay, what is the rule here, or what is the pattern? How does this work? And if I just told you, like, well, this thing is this thing, and this thing over here is something else, it might not always be like that. So if I could like give you, if you just say like noun plus adjective, like maybe I say like a girl big or something like that. Like there might be times when that's grammatically incorrect and times where it might be grammatically correct. It just depends. Like you might find both of those things. Or if we're going to talk about the opposite, like a big girl, again, the same kind of thing. Like there might be times where we could have a like the adjective coming before the noun and it makes sense, and other times where maybe it sounds a little bit odd. But instead of trying to memorize a rule about that, and again, the reason we don't want to do that is because when you're in a conversation, you don't want to think about a rule. What we're really trying to do is understand, in this situation, what do people say? So this situation, what do people say? So there could be like an actual, here's a girl over here, and I could describe her correctly in at least two different ways. So I could say it's a tall girl, or she is a tall girl. So she is a tall girl, or I could say the girl is tall. So both of those would be fine. But it's not about me trying to think of a rule. It's just natives might express the same idea in different ways. So the girl is tall, or she is a tall girl. But I promise you, I know you're looking for things like, you have something in Korean. I'm guessing like maybe you're Korean, where you would begin with something and then think, how do I translate this, or what the rule is? But when you're speaking Korean or whatever your language is, you don't think that way. You're not thinking from a rule, you're thinking from a pattern. So in this situation, these are general things that people might say, or I might think of a different way to express it. And that's the interesting thing about language. There are lots of different ways people could describe things or explain things, even something like that, something simple. But again, like it's not like trying to memorize a rule. We're trying to understand what is appropriate for a particular situation. So try to think about it like that. And I promise you, if you focus on this, your fluency will develop very quickly, because you will feel, at least for this one thing, you feel certain about using it. And now we can add something else to it. Now we can maybe make it a bit more interesting or difficult or whatever, but that's the basic idea. All right. Let's see, and Manisha says, hello, sir. I'm glad today, after a long time, I got to be here. Well, welcome. All right, let's see, Access again. I'm a scientific, so it will be cool to see some of these in the book. That will make me even more motivated to learn. Yeah, so I figured there will be some people. Here you would say, I'm a scientist. Or if you're not actually a scientist, you could say, I'm scientific, or I think scientifically, or I have a scientific mind. These are all different ways of expressing that same idea. But yes, so I think there will be some readers who care about that, and maybe some people who don't. So I probably, if I put it in there, I probably will not get into too much detail about it. All right, Chrono again, do you think Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize? Why? Is he being offered the Nobel Peace Prize? Didn't Obama? I think Obama also got the Nobel Peace Prize. And he, I think, killed a bunch of people too. I don't know. I don't know what is required for getting the Nobel Peace Prize, but I don't know what Trump is supposed to, I don't know. Is he being offered that, really? Let's see. And I can't read the Cyrillic, but you are the best, so best wishes. Well, thank you very much. Hector says, I was thinking of substitute. I'm not sure I really got it. Can you give more samples? So you would say more examples, so it will stick to me. Yeah, if you're just talking about like substituting like here, let me see here. All right. So if you want to, we can use substitute, but again, it's easier like if you say instead, or if we're saying like switch. But instead is also perfectly fine. Typically, natives will use like do you do. They may begin the conversation with like do you do substitutions, or could I substitute X for Y. But again, it's a longer thing, and if you're just trying to have something simple to use, like could I get, and then like X instead of Y. Could I get X instead of Y? Or could I substitute X for Y? That's typically how we would say it. So sometimes, like let's say I go to a restaurant and the person, I'm thinking about getting a salad, and then the waiter says, okay, would you like, yeah, I don't know, whatever, like extra fish on your salad or something like that. And I say, oh, no, actually, I don't like fish on my salad. So I didn't know there would be fish on the salad. And so I say, oh, do you do substitutions? So do you do substitutions? Or could I substitute fish for chicken, as an example? Or could I switch the fish with chicken? Could I switch this with that? Or switch, whatever the thing is you want. But instead and switch are perfectly fine if you don't, want to remember that. But it's the same basic idea. It's just a longer thing. So could I substitute like chicken for fish? Or could I get chicken instead of fish? Or another way of saying it is in place of. But instead of is probably the most common one. All right. Let me know if that makes sense. But these are all good if you want to use them in your conversations at restaurants. Let's see here. All right. Teacher Drew, you speak an amazing English. Yeah, my English is all right, I think. Thank you, Olivia. All right. Britt says, Drew, I hope you had a good birthday. What did you get from your girls? They gave me some underwear. I got 2 pairs of underwear. That was it. When you become a father, like, I don't know, I don't really need anything. I can't really, I don't really think of anything they need to get me. I don't know. I didn't ask for anything. But yeah, they wrote me a card. So they wrote me a card and drew a picture. CN says, do you have any trick to learn situations in the past? Oh, it's not even really a trick. It's just getting examples of something that really help you understand it. So whatever those examples are, pick something simple and focus on a particular thing. So and again, trying to learn a word like substitute, maybe you use substitute, but hopefully I can get you to substitute the word substitute for something else. So I want to substitute the word substitute for instead. So use that instead. So if we're talking about a word in the past, pick something simple, even just simple past grammar, right now I am writing something, or even an easier one, I am playing the piano, or even easier than that, I'm just, I don't know, I'm trying to think about it like a regular instead of an irregular verb, but just pick something very simple so you can get the understanding of how it would work, and then things like irregular verbs would make more sense. But just make sure you get the pattern first. So there's not really a trick to it. It's just making sure you understand the the basics of, in this situation, you do this. So get lots of examples of that. That's the way I would do it. And that's honestly the way I teach it also. Let's see. All right, so Chrono says, yeah, like my for flat things or ipon for long objects. Well, I don't know what your native language is, but for me in English, we have a similar kind of thing. So we have different counters for things like that already. And so it wasn't like that difficult of a thing for me to figure out like why they would do something like that. So the kind of like what seems illogical or crazy about all these counters, we have that in English. Like we talk about like 10 head of cattle. And like they use the same thing in Japanese, if we're counting like large animals versus small animals or something like that. And so we even for different groups of things in English, like we have a group of lions is called a pride of lions, or we have all kinds of like different groups of something like a pod of whales. And it's another kind of like, why the hell do we have all these things? And honestly, if you're just learning the language, there are typically things like if you're just using like ikko, nikko, sanko, like that works quite well, or shitotsu, futatsu, mitsu, yotsu, like for counting things. You don't have to be so strict about that. People will get the idea, and over time you can get a better example. Like thin things like a piece of paper. I can see how that would be like a shirt. It kind of works like that. Like mo ichimai no shatsu, ichimai no mokami no ichimai origami toka. So if I'm giving examples of the language, like learning like that, some things are used very frequently, and so you would get examples of those a lot, and that would just help you learn it naturally. But often, like especially using like ikko, nikko, or shitotsu, futatsu, try not to worry about the rules so much and watch how Japanese people do this, because you will see them doing the same thing. Like if I go to the convenience store and I just stand there and listen to people ordering stuff, like some people are like we're not a marker, but like a oshibori, or I guess maybe not like oshibori at a like a little hand wipe. You go to 7-Eleven and they ask you, and like sometimes they will say like oshibori nanmai desu ka, or they will say like nanko desu ka. It's like they will use both of those, like if you're counting one of these or the other. But again, pay attention, look for the commonalities or the patterns and see if you can get those, and pay attention for how natives will also use a wide range of ways for describing these things. All right, Sebastian says, I just speak English because I learn from you. Glad to hear it. And CNC says, it seems to me that everybody speaks in the present tense all the time. Yeah, that's definitely not true. People talk about the past often as well, but what you will find is sometimes if I'm describing something that happened in the past, I'm describing it in the present, because it makes it, it's kind of bringing the story into the now for the listener. So if I said, I'm beginning a story like, yesterday I went to the park, and then I immediately switch, so here I am at the park, and I'm playing with my daughter, and I'm doing this and that, and then a cat jumps out at me from a bush. So I've taken a past story, I've set it up so that we're talking about the past, but I'm still describing it in the present, so that's one way. Again, and this is why it's important to pay attention to the situations where people actually use the language. Like I do this a lot in Fluent for Life, where we're talking about, it's not just the language itself. You might hear it used one way in one situation and used a different way in another situation. And so it's important to pay attention for things like that. Like, yes, you actually could use the present when talking about the past, but often, it's just better to get lots of examples and see how people do that. Because I could talk about something in the past, so I was at the park, with my daughter and we were playing on the swings, or we played on the swing, or whatever. It just depends on how I'm trying to tell the story. But again, as a person learning with me, you come to see, there actually are a wide range of ways we could express this, rather than me trying to just follow a rule. So when you see natives use the language and you understand the patterns, you feel more confident about using that same grammar structure, like even talking about the present in the past. Let's see. Wet your trough. You talking about drink something? Yeah, I get. Now, as usual, I did not anticipate we've already been going for an hour and a half. All right, Teddy says, hello from Malaysia. Really thanks to your handsome teacher here, Ted Sharman. Well, glad to hear. I'm a single father, 3 young kids, and your class really helps to improve even small action, but the progress is really slow. Well, just focus on a particular thing and take your time. And when you see progress in even a small thing, it will make you feel more motivated and excited to improve. Amal says, what do you think about learning English through AI? Please comment. Sure. I mean, I use AI to get examples about things. I talk about AI in my book, actually. But again, like right now, AI is popular for people in the same way that speaking practice is popular for people. If you think you need to do that, or if you think AI, like speaking and correcting you, is going to get you fluent, like people will be interested in that. But you don't need to use like AI for those things. I mean, you could. I use AI for getting lots of good examples, but I haven't found AI has been like a good teacher of the language. I mean, it kind of is, but it's more about, it will just give you examples of things, like it's just explaining what a rule is, but it's very rarely giving me aha moments about how to learn. It just doesn't have that way of thinking. Now, I've kind of trained my own AI, like when I'm talking with ChatGPT, it knows because I taught it how to teach me, and so it understands the kinds of things it's looking for. But even then, it's still it's useful for some things. Like I've seen people getting like AI corrections. So I talk to the AI and I say, "Hello, my name was Drew," and the AI says, "Oh, you mean your name is Drew?" And I say, yeah, that's right. My name is Drew. And so here that's an AI correcting me, but that's a really slow way to learn the language. And it's more like I'm going to just start walking around and saying things, and hopefully they make sense. Like I'm bumping into a wall and I know I shouldn't walk that way. So I turn and I walk that way and I bump into a wall, and now I don't know what I'm doing. So there are really good uses for AI, but it's certainly not at the level where people, I don't know. Like, I mean, you tell me. Like, if you're using AI and it's helpful for you, you don't need to wait for me to tell you if it's useful or not. If it is useful, then keep using it. But if it's not useful, then it's pretty easy to understand why. Just like having a private teacher, and I've seen statistics about this. Like, even with AI, lots of people still like having an actual teacher or getting real examples from a human, if they're trying to learn the language. But what will happen in the future, like for the app I want to make next, it will work like Frederick, where the purpose is not just to like have the AI tell you rules. It's more about how the AI can help you discover those things on your own. So more of the same kind of thing I'm doing. Because again, even if I get AI examples, I can still struggle when I get into a conversation about how something works. Like maybe not understanding the pronunciation of something, or somebody says it differently, or whatever. So there are lots of examples like that. Let's see. But anybody else, like if you guys out there are using AI and it's been successful for you for building fluency, let me know. I'm always curious about that. All right, Hans says, how to remember vocabulary without thinking in your own language. I have a program about this called How to Remember Any English Word, and the point is, again, getting your brain to create new categories of things in your mind for the new vocabulary. So that way you don't need to learn it in your native language. You can learn it all in English. All right, Wah says, hi, teacher. What I understood is that active listening and reading is the best things to improve language. While reading or listening, you'll notice patterns, grammar, word order, and so on. Well, like that's a part of learning, and that's why in my program, Fluent for Life, there is some reading to it. It's more about slowing the language down. But if you think about maybe this is an easier way to understand this for people. A lot of people, they're thinking about like, how should I learn? Like what method should I read or listen or, whatever, the particular thing is. They're beginning over here. And for many years, I was thinking the same way, like, what method should I use? Should I read or listen or shadow or, whatever people are recommending? So there are all these different things you could do to try to learn. And then if you have read the book or if you have not, and you can get that by clicking on the link in the description below this video, what I talk about in chapter 1 is making a switch from, instead of thinking about particular methods, I actually wanted to begin at the end with the moment, just like I talked about before. The moment I want to speak. And so instead of trying to go here and figure out which of these methods is going to be the best, and I just try a bunch of different things and maybe some things work and some things don't work or whatever, I want to think about what's actually stopping me the moment I try to speak. What's actually stopping me the moment I try to speak. And then I work backwards to come to particular methods that I might be learning. And so that's what the book is about. And so you learn that, like, reading is good, listening is good, writing is good, all of these things are good, but the real question is, does it help me feel certain and confident about using the language? That's the idea. So the most important part about all this is, like, not about a particular method that you use to learn, it's, do I understand and feel confident about using it? Do I understand and feel confident about using it? That's the real thing. And so you can improve with reading. You can improve with listening. You can improve with AI. AI can be helpful for that. But again, this is the most important thing. So you need to think backwards from that and try to understand what's the thing you should actually be doing with your time. Let's see. So yeah, like reading and writing can be helpful, but the purpose is not like whether reading or writing is good. It's like it's not really the full picture you need to be thinking about. If your goal is speaking, then begin with the goal and work backwards from that. Let's see here. All right, Peter, what problems do I see in my attempts to master English? 1, the sentence structures become a little incomprehensible due to the use of phrasal verbs and idioms. Olympia says, your Japanese is so cute. Peter says, the ability to distinguish sounds and words as they are, and it's amazingly weird, like bad in bed. And I think there was a number 3 somewhere here. Let me find that. And the ability to pronounce sounds and words. I can pronounce some words on their own. And when I do it with another word, it becomes more difficult. Example, the phrase, I'm hanging in there. All right. You basically described phrasal verbs and phonics. You should get Frederick. Do you have Frederick already? If you do not, get the app and start playing around with it. It will fix your problems. So always remember, try to focus on something and master that one thing. And so begin with learning the basic words and then move up to learning phrasal verbs, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's what you do. Oh, and CNBC or C. I always say CNBC. CNC said yes. So yes, I got 2 pairs of underwear. That's what I got. My whole family gave me that. It's very. They didn't really know what else to give me. So I don't know what they're trying to say about that, but maybe my underwear is old or something. It's always good to get new underwear though. So yeah, Peter, that's what I would do. Get Frederick and start playing around with that. But it will help you. It will teach you these different sounds and solve these specific problems you're talking about. Mal goes out. Nice to see you there. Looks like I sound like to let you know what it sounds like you're drinking and typing at the same time over here. I don't know what's going on with it. All right, DF says, can we actually study English like American children do as a first language instead of studying it just as a second language if we are just beginners? Yes, that's the whole point of Frederick. So if you have children, I don't know how old you are, but I made Frederick so it solves that specific problem. And if you want to see how this works with video, watch my beginning English grammar playlist here on YouTube, and you will see me teaching English in English to absolute beginners. But Frederick will help you do this as well. So it begins with sounds, and it teaches you words and teaches you grammar, and you actually come to understand this just by playing with the app. So if you don't know English at all, you can still play with it. And so it's for beginners, but a lot of adults use it because it also improves your pronunciation and your use of grammar and all things like that. All right. Armin says, how to read? That's a trickier subject for another time, I think. But if you're just talking about like being able to read in English in the same way I'm trying to learn to read in Japanese, start with basic things that you can read, like children's books. Let's see, Malgrazada, you need to make one. Do you only have like 3 words or something that you can type in a comment? It sounds like you're doing well. Yeah. All right. It's weird that I don't know why usually you type, everything together. All right. It sounds like it's like an interesting story where I get a piece of it at a time. So you arrived at New York, and it sounds like people were complimenting you on your English, and you told them about my program. That sounds good. All right. I'm glad you're improving. All right. Looks like we're almost done here. Let's see. And Raul's got a laughing face. All right. And Yen says, should beginners practice listening to all accents like American, British, Australian? You don't necessarily need to. I would first just get people to focus on understanding the language. Usually people do not have access to a whole bunch of teachers like that anyway. Like basically nobody teaches in the way that I'm talking about like that, about having multiple people explain things or teach you or give you examples, like audio examples of things. So what I'd actually like to do with Frederick in the future, the plan still is to have different accents in there. So like American, like female and male. I would probably just do it with AI though, rather than actual record all the voices like I did already. So I would keep my voice in there, but the other ones would be done with AI. Let's see, but no, I mean, you don't have to have them do that. And it's more about like people usually live in a particular location where there's a lot of one kind of English. So if you live in the United States, American English is going to be more important for you. If you live in the UK, then British English will be more important, but you will still get examples of things like that. So I don't think it's so important. If you only have access to one teacher, then focus on one particular thing. So that's kind of how Frederick does it as well. It's like it's giving you one accent, but you're still getting lots of varied review in the app. So just focus on one thing at a time. But Malgrazada, I'm glad to hear you're improving. All right, Peter says, thank you very much. I will check out the app. Hans says, how to practice reading skill. Like focus on children's books. Find things that you can read easily, and that will make you excited that you were able to read those things. One will be living with WG with an American family for about 2 months. Oh, very cool. All right, we says just work on the areas of the language where you feel the most insecure in order. Yeah, actually, that's what I would do. That's what I talk about the different communication skills people have or the specific issues that stop them from expressing themselves. Like, don't just learn some random English that you never will use. Find something specifically that you use in like in everyday life, like something practical, and focus on a specific thing and build up your understanding by focusing on something really short and simple that you can say, and then start expanding from there. And then Hans says, should we read, whisper, or read out loud? You can do both. It's not, again, like, it's a variety of things that will give you good training. Like, you could whisper if maybe you don't want to disturb other people, or you could read out loud with a louder voice and kind of act something out as you do it, the same way a child might copy a movie or a comic book or something like that. But all that. So Peter says, I could say exciting. My keyboard sucks. I see, you have the funniest keyboard ever. All right, so which English accent do you speak? I just speak American. I have kind of a Chicago accent, but yeah. Somebody says, do you often say I love you to your wife in Japanese? That's not really a common thing out here to say, like, I love you. It's like, culturally, people don't typically do that. There is love out here, but yeah. Like, I will just say, like, aishiteru, like, for fun, but Japanese people typically don't say that to each other like that. I guess maybe it's more changing now, but. All right, Malgozetta, thank you for joining us. But yes, if you know other people who would enjoy the program, thank you for recommending it to them. Ian says, did your wife study English by the Fluent for Life before she speak English well? Well, she was already speaking quite well. And my wife is not in my program, but I do like give her lots of lessons that are the same things that I teach in the program. So just like I teach my own kids the same way, I learn Japanese the same way. But yeah, I mean, if anybody here actually is interested in Fluent for Life, but you're nervous or you're unsure or whatever, you still have questions about the program, let me know. I've been for a long time thinking about the best way to explain it, and I'm thinking it's probably better to get people into the book first so they can understand the process. And you don't really need a whole book to understand how to learn with it. It's not that complicated, but I think it's probably more useful for anybody who's interested in joining Fluent for Life to get the book first and read that. Like Deep, for example, he read the book first and then joined the program. Let's see, and Hans says, did you use ChatGPT to study Japanese, like explain vocabularies, make sentences? Yeah, I haven't found ChatGPT to be very helpful for me learning Japanese. I can kind of get some examples from it, but it's just not, it doesn't teach the way I like to teach. And it will just give me more examples and explain rules and stuff, but not really make the language understandable. And it will still try to translate things, and sometimes it will explain, but it's kind of hard for Japanese or ChatGPT to explain that. Also, the voice isn't really there, so it sounds like a just like a guy, like a foreigner speaking Japanese. It's kind of funny like that. I don't know if there's an actual voice in the Japanese version for Japanese speakers or not, but I haven't found one. And Yen says, do your kids speak English or Japanese more every day? Yeah, they speak more Japanese because we live in Japan. So they go to school in Japan, but that's why I have to be good about giving them good lessons and make sure the learning is efficient so they can get fluent faster in English, even if they don't spend much time learning. And that's, again, the same thing I do with Fluent for Life. I know people are busy and they don't want to spend time having to learn things or whatever. But if you like to, it is possible to get fluent in a language much faster if you learn it the right way. Adrian says, could you send your sample prompts? Could you send your sample prompts while using ChatGPT? Yeah, if you search my YouTube channel for ChatGPT, I have a video about that. And I have an updated prompt in the book. That's for learning English vocabulary, but I don't really use it for learning Japanese. Han says, what is different between can and can't? Well, they're just the opposite. But again, you need to get examples. Try not to look at just one word versus another word. But I have talked about this on the channel, and I talk about this in Fluent for Life as well. Remember, if you're thinking about what is the difference between this word and that word, often the answer is it depends. Maybe in this situation you could use it, and that maybe in a different situation it doesn't work well. So it's not about the words, it's the words for a situation. That's the important part. Let's see. And Jihoon says, I think kids are following wife, usually mother tongue. Yes. So again, it's also like how they spend more time with their mother than they do with me. Like that's just part of the process. So yeah, often children are getting that more from their mother. But my kids actually speak really good English, and they speak good Japanese as well. But I know a lot of foreign fathers here in Japan who have kids that don't really speak English very well. So it's not about having a foreign parent. It's how you actually teach the kids and make them understand the language easily. Duran says the Youglish that you recommended helped a lot with the pronunciations. Glad to hear it. Bai says, do you wish Fluent for Life had a Japanese version made by native speakers? Yes. Again, I made the program that I wish I had because I still have to teach myself Japanese. I have not found a program that does what I do. So I just have to create it on my own. And what I do is essentially what I describe in the book. So how I'm learning Japanese now is what I do in the book. Like I watch street interviews or I read children's books, other things like that. So if there's a particular thing I don't know, I feel uncertain about using it, I let that uncertainty direct me to the thing I should be focusing on next. And I just, sometimes I learn things randomly, like I was trying to think about some expression I learned. Like seeing like street interviews of people in Japan. I watch that. And again, it's naturally varied reviews, so I can see how different people respond to the same questions. And it's the exact same things that I describe in Fluent for Life or in the book. Let's see, and Yen says, how can I remember vocabulary without translating? I think someone else asked that same question. That's the same thing we talk about in the memory training. So how to remember any English word, that's also included in Fluent for Life. But you can search my YouTube channel for that, how to remember any English word, and it will talk about this same idea. So there's a program for it, but it shows you how to do it. So Han says, how to review previous lesson, Fluent for Life. Well, part of it is as you learn, new lesson sets will automatically review some of the things that you learn in other sets because some of the grammar is also found in different lesson sets. So you're building a network of understanding. But what you'll notice is if you let's say you choose a lesson set and the first thing you do is you watch the conversation just to see what the conversation is about. If you then go back through the whole lesson set and watch the conversation again, you will notice that you understand a lot more and you feel more confident about using what you learn because you know it very well. So if you go to a different lesson set and then learn through that and then go back and watch that previous conversation, that's another way of reviewing something again, and you will feel that you understand even more that time. And so again, it's kind of putting layers into your brain of understanding so that you feel more confident as you go through the language and go through the program. Duran says, sorry, Drew, I didn't catch what you said about the prompts for ChatGPT. Just search my channel for ChatGPT and watch that video. ChatGPT is correct grammar. Yeah, for the most part, I've found like a couple times when it's incorrect, but it's mostly correct. Yeah. But again, that's the tricky thing with kind of trusting ChatGPT to give you a good answer about something. And, that's why it's nice to get multiple examples of things. So maybe go to Google and look for examples of things, but also get some from ChatGPT or YouTube or whatever. All right, Fabio says, if you live in Japan, you are married with a Japanese woman. Yes, that's correct. Can you read a newspaper in Japan now? No. My kanji is still very limited, and I don't spend a lot of time learning kanji. Well, I started, but then I spent a lot of my time teaching other people rather than me learning Japanese, especially not kanji. So my conversations are just fine, but I don't spend a lot of time reading that. So I usually read like easier things for kids or comic books, that kind of thing. VNC says, hi, Drew. I have asked you to show how Fluent for Life is organized. Can you show the platform in a tutorial video? When will a discount be available? I'm really interested in purchasing it. When you're talking about the platform, imagine it's basically a bunch of videos and audios that as you listen to them, they help you make the language easy to understand. Or they basically make the language understandable so you feel confident about using it. So you get all these aha moments as you're learning, like, okay, now I understand what that means. I'm not just telling you rules, I'm helping you understand how to use the language, teaching you when it's appropriate, and giving you lots of different examples about maybe like how this person would say it or how this person might express something in a different way. So as far as like the platform, it's basically it's videos and audio that help you understand the language. I don't know when a specific discount will be available, but yeah, you can send us an email if you're curious about that at info@englishanyone.com. But let me know if what specifically is stopping you from joining the program other than the price of it. Is that the issue? You're like, it's not valuable enough at the price you see it at, but you'd like it just for less. I guess most people would like to have something for a lower price for obvious reason. But yeah, if there's anything else actually stopping you from getting into the program, but it's basically organized around different topics. So you get to choose what you learn. And then when you can choose, you want to learn about a particular grammar point, or you want to learn about a particular subject for conversation or vocabulary or whatever the thing is, you just go through the series of lessons, and it helps you understand that and gets you fluent by making the language understandable. That's really the secret to the program. And then you can take what you learn, and we show you how to meet people to practice speaking if you'd like to do that, but it's not necessary. So either you live with people and you can practice speaking with them already, like you just start using, like Mal Gorzada was talking about that, so she's a member of the program, and she was just saying here how the program helped her feel a lot more confident about using the language. And so again, it's the opposite approach from what people typically do, which is trying to speak more to develop fluency. Well, what we're trying to do is actually develop fluency even before we speak. That way, when you get into a conversation, you feel a lot more confident about speaking. Let's see. But if you have any more questions specifically, let me know. Jan says, should we practice deep listening with just one accent until we understand it well, and then practice with other accents? It depends on what your goal is. If you mostly spend time listening in the real world to one kind of accent, then that might be helpful. But if you're watching different movies and need to hear a wide range of things, then I would get a wider range of examples. Han again says, what do you think about shadowing to improve accent better? Again, like I mentioned over here, shadowing is just another thing that could help you improve. But it's like the goal is not to shadow something. Like you could repeat after lots of speakers, but still not understand the language. And then you would say, well, I guess shadowing didn't work. And it's not like shadowing works or doesn't work. The question is, do you actually feel confident about saying what you're learning? And so part of that is repeating after things or whatever, but the deeper point is, do you understand what you're learning? Do you feel confident about saying what you learn? So if you just get a rule from someone, anybody can just tell you a rule for a language or give you a sentence structure, but do you feel confident about using that? That's the key. And so what we're trying to do with Fluent for Life, or not trying, but actually do, is make sure you understand the language well enough that you feel confident about using it. So it takes a little bit of time, because the point is not just to know a bunch of grammar rules or to memorize a bunch of vocabulary. It's to feel confident about using the language. So Fluent for Life is really for people who want to speak, not just memorize a bunch of rules or whatever. So AI, typically, like if you're going to learn with AI, it's not really giving you that, and it's not really going to give you lots of varied examples of the language in the same way that a native speaker would, because AI doesn't know to do that. In the future, as I become more popular and more well-known, that information will get into AI and it will begin doing more like the way I teach. But yeah, let's see here. Let's see. How many videos do you have in Fluent for Life? I don't remember how many. It's like over 300, I think, but there are like 500 some odd lessons in it. But forget about the number of videos in the program. The point is, does it get you fluent or not? And I know people like to look at, the amount of videos in the program. And there are many. There's way more information than you need, because the point is to give you a large library of content where you choose what you learn. And so each learner goes through the program in their own way. So you don't follow the same lessons that everybody else does. You maybe want to learn about, I don't know, how to talk about money or shopping or, I don't know, travel or whatever the things you're interested in. So other people will be interested in different things. But all of you will get fluent in your own way, because we make the language understandable. That's the key. Right. Oh my goodness, 124 minutes. It has. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think this is probably the longest video yet. Oh no. Bye says, wow, it's already been 2 hours. All right, Vinci says, your course costs approximately 4 times the minimum wage in my country's currency. Where are you living? I'm sure it's worth every penny, but a discount would be very helpful. Just send us a mail. Yen says, what do you think about it's better to speak a neutral English accent than a strong regional accent, because other people may find it difficult to understand? I don't know. I think you're probably getting ahead of yourself about that, like thinking about, should I sound like I'm from Texas rather than Illinois or whatever? I don't. Like most people aren't even at that level where they, like, nobody would really confuse you. Like, hey, you sound like you're from Texas, Like that would be interesting if your English was that good, like you actually, like you spoke English well and you had a particular accent. And that happens to some people. Like I see people in Japan, they live in Australia for a while, or they live in the UK or whatever, and they develop that accent. But yeah, I guess neutral English is better. But again, it's good to get lots of varied examples of the language. So it's not like you're like when I'm learning the language as a native speaker, I get it from Texas speakers or Louisiana speakers or Canadian speakers or whatever. Like there are people all over the place. So I still have my particular way of speaking, but it's me, again, getting lots of examples from all over the place. But don't worry about like your I don't know, like a particular accent. Just focus on trying to make the language understandable and get a variety of examples that will help make that possible. Because again, it's not just about you speaking. You also need to be prepared for what other people will say. Let's see. And then Hans says, do your kids study English by Fluent for Life method? Yes. So they're not actually in Fluent for Life, but I use the same approach to teach them that I teach in the program, because it works. So basically what I'm doing is like, I'm taking the approach that native speakers use, but I'm doing it more efficiently. So if you think about how children might watch a movie in their native language, like a 5-year-old child watching a live action or a cartoon movie, most of that information they're not actually understanding. And that's why kids can watch a movie 20 times and they'll learn a little bit more each time they watch it. But that's like, when people talk about native speakers learning a language well, there's no such thing as a native speaker. You only become native because of how you learn. So you can become a native speaker if you learn in the same way, but it's not trying to like learn like a native, because natives are just getting lots of random input a lot, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to just like, it's like dropping you in the ocean and hoping you learn how to swim. That's a pretty dangerous way to teach someone a language. Instead, we want to make it efficient so you actually understand what you're learning. You get a wide range of examples that really help you understand the language and be prepared for communication. Again, it's not just about learning the language. We want to prepare you for real communication. All right? So if you're in a conversation, again, the same idea. We don't begin with the method, we begin with the goal of the moment I want to speak, can I express myself well or not? Did I flip that fluent communication switch in my brain? Like, do I feel confident or do I not feel confident? And that's really for individual words and phrases. So that's why you can probably say some things well, but maybe not others. You're just unsure for whatever reason about some things you want to say. All right. Looks like we're almost done, though. Do your kids use English every day? Yes, I try to get them using some kind of English, like either listening to something or speaking with me every day. Olympia says, great teacher, great class. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Peter says, is your program suitable for English learners of all levels? No. Fluent for Life specifically is for, it could be, we do have like younger people in the program. Like I've had high school kids join it and enjoy learning, or college or whatever. We have a wide range, people over 80 years old in the program, but it's more about they can already understand some English because the program is all taught in English and it's not at a basic level. So I try to make it understandable, but it's really for intermediate at least. So if you can understand my video here, you're ready for Fluent for Life. So if you can understand what I'm saying, this is the same way I explain things and teach things in the program, but you also get examples of real people speaking in real conversations. But the unique thing about what I do is like flipping that communication switch by making the language understandable. It's not just about telling you grammar rules. I actually let you, with that guided discovery process, understand how the language works, so you feel like a native speaker as you're learning. That's the whole idea. But no, it's not for absolute beginners. If you're an absolute beginner, probably people watching this video are not absolute beginners, but like if you have kids, give them Frederick. Let them play with that and they will teach themselves the language very quickly. I've seen it again and again. It's been really amazing. I need to like promote Frederick more. But anyway, I'm like focused right now on just like getting people into the book and helping them understand this way of learning. But yeah, like it is possible to learn and learn very quickly, but if you're a beginner, get Frederick. Even if you're an adult, use Frederick also, because it will help you a lot in many ways, but Fluent for Life and the other video courses I have, they're really more for people who already understand some English. Hans says, do your children study grammar? No. Well, actually, they have English class at school, but I don't sit and like teach them grammar rules in the sense that okay, we're going to learn this. They don't know the names of all those things, but they know how to use the language correctly, and that's the important thing. So they will learn those rules later in school, but they will be much better prepared than all of the Japanese kids that don't have any regular understanding of the language. Carl says, do your kids get naturally varied review in Japanese too? Yeah, they do. So of course, like native speakers get naturally varied review without thinking about it. And that's like, again, your mother says something, your father says something, your teacher says the same thing. You're automatically getting all those examples. You're actually getting way too much input really as a child. And that's why, again, it's like just throwing you into the deep end of the pool. When people talk about immersion and just surround yourself with the language, it's like it's actually a not very intelligent way to do it, because a lot of that information is coming to you and it's not actually understandable. So we really want to make sure you can not only understand the language but feel confident about using it. Let's see, and Ji-hoon says, I have listened only for 10 years. But I still don't speak English yet. Yeah, and again, it's probably because you just don't feel confident about using the language. That's it. And you can tell this for specific things. Don't worry about English in general. This is more like, for this word or phrase, do I feel confident about using it? That's the key. And for most people, they do not. But it's easy to understand because I don't need to feel certain and confident when I listen. but I do need to feel certain and confident when I speak. All right. So hopefully most people get that idea, but it's important because I think many people forget it. Maribel says, any ideas how I can conquer my fear and start practicing talking? Number one, don't worry about practicing talking. Number two, you conquer the fear by understanding the language and feeling certain about it. That's it. That's the whole thing. There's no like magic thing to it other than when you feel certain about what you want to say, you have no fear. Nothing stops you from speaking. That's the whole point. Like most people think that language learning is like, it's about like an additive process. Like you keep adding more. I need more speaking, more vocabulary, more lessons, when it's more about removing stuff. So especially for people who watch my videos who already understand a lot of English, they just don't feel confident about using it yet. They haven't gotten to that level where they feel certain. So maybe they feel unsure about pronunciation or grammar or the usage of vocabulary or whatever. Like who was that asking before about like substitutions in ordering things at a restaurant? So that's a perfect example. If you learn something but you don't still feel confident about using it, it's not going to help you very much. You will understand when other people say it because you don't need to feel certain when other people are speaking. Just like right now, you don't need to feel certain to watch my video because I'm the one talking. But when you want to speak, that's when you feel like, uh-oh, if I don't feel sure about what I want to say, I'm probably not going to say it. So that's why we begin with this. And that's the exact same thing I do in the book. Hey, Carl over there. Let's see, any idea? Okay, I got that one. And how to practice to speak English naturally and automatically. Again, the speaking part is what happens as you understand the language. That's how it works. So you don't have to practice speaking, although lots of people think they do. But I talk about this in the book as well, how instead of practicing speaking, speaking is the result of knowing the language really well. So I don't have to spend all my time talking, and I don't spend my time talking a lot in Japanese. But when I get into conversations, I feel confident about using my words. And that's how it works. All right, Carl says, how do you cope with balding? I'm only 30 and already bald. It sucks. Oh, well, why? Whatever. I actually want to shave all my hair off, but my wife won't let me. So I'm 45 now, and like, you know, whatever. It is what it is. I don't really spend much time thinking about it. I can't really control my hair in that way. And I have like, it's kind of interesting how my hair works, you know. It is what it is. But I think like the thing you can do is like try to take care of the rest of your body well. But yeah, like if you already like shave all of it off, you know, you can certainly look better with a bald head if you've got a better physique than if you're just like bleh. So do what you can with what you have, you know. I'm not really worried about my hair though. I don't know. It is what it is, you know. It's like an interesting kind of like the bald part though. Like it's kind of funny how that works. But I don't really care, you know. Let's see. Maribel says most people don't understand my accent. Yeah, you should train with Frederick. It will clean up your accent very quickly. And Yen says, how did you study and memorize Japanese vocabulary? The same way I teach in Fluent for Life. That's how it works. Basically, what I'm explaining here is like I will pick something and focus on it and make sure I understand it well, and then I will go to something else, and that's it. That's the whole process. And so it seems like that would take longer, but actually it takes longer at first, but because I know things well, it's really easy for me to learn new things. Like yesterday I heard like somebody was talking about YouTube, and they said like, I don't know, nantoka de YouTube de nagarete kita, or something like that. Like it was just like I saw something on YouTube and I was like, naruhodo ne. Like I can use like nagareru in the same way. Like talking about like seeing a stream of something like on YouTube, Japanese people can say it that way, and like immediately I get that aha moment of boku mo tsukaereru ne. Like I can use that same thing. And so again, like the things that I do in my personal life for learning Japanese, for teaching my family, for helping my wife, my kids, and for helping you all, it's all the same approach. I don't have a separate thing that I do at home that I don't do here. Duran says, I love how you're not getting tired of explaining to us how to learn as a native and explaining it to us in a lot of ways. And yeah, and that's honestly the thing that I'm doing here as I do that is I know like there will be people who understand the language or understand my explanation in a slightly different way. And you'll notice like people probably watch my videos and they're like, didn't he talk about this last video or whatever? Like a lot of my videos are essentially talking about the same thing, although I try to give different examples. Like today we're talking about, like some expressions you can use when you don't know what to say. It happens. But I think for most people, that feeling when you do get it, like I like seeing that expression when people are finally like, yes, like now I got it. Drew gave me an example and it made sense, or from wherever you discovered the example. But when you finally understand something, that's the reason I teach. I like seeing that expression, and that's also the feeling I like having when I discover things, and I discover, things all the time in that same way. Hans says, how to improve strong regional accent. Does that mean you want to reduce yours or improve one? If you want to reduce yours, then focus on a different accent, and if you want to improve it, then get more examples of people who speak that accent. Maribel says, is it what it is? I like that expression. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing in Japanese also. It's like sore wa sore ne. Like it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. That's the nature of the thing. Corona says, Drew, have you ever met a Yakuza in real life? Yeah. I mean, I don't know how like high level they have, but like how high they are in like Yakuza organization or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've met guys that like, I worked with some guys who were in, like they were still like in prison, kind of like they had to stay in prison at night. They could work, but work during the day, but they had to go back to a prison at night. And I've been in like hot springs with Yakuza guys. They got the full body tattoos and stuff like that. All right, Gio says, I have learned a little for some months, but Japanese is more difficult than Korean. But I thought, what is my favorite Japanese food? I like chicken nanban, actually. I like that a lot. Ian says, which regional accent is easiest for everyone to understand in the USA? Just like kind of standard, like Midwest accent, like I have. Maribel says, I don't understand how I can understand everything you say, but I have trouble understanding most native speakers. Well, that's because I'm speaking understandably and being extra clear and also not using a lot of difficult vocabulary. So I'm careful about how I speak. All right, Fizzin says, good morning. All right, I'm cutting the conversation there. You guys will keep me here all day, and it's been, oh my goodness, 140 minutes. Look at this. Does pronunciation help for improved accent? Yes, of course. Yakuza is mafia, like Japanese organized crime. Anyway, all right, everybody have a fantastic day. If you have any questions about Fluent for Life or Frederick or whatever, just send us a mail at info@englishanyone.com. But I do highly recommend you get the book if you do not have it already. It takes all of the explanations, like even some of the things I'm talking about here, and it lays it out very simply, like answering questions why you understand but can't speak, or why you should be learning this way instead of trying to speak first. Like again, I know a lot of people, like it answers a lot of the questions people have. But by the time you finish reading the book, and you can read it in like less than a day, it's not that long. And it's also at a lower reading level, so people should understand it, just like the kind of speaking level I'm using here. But if you would like to learn more about that and become a more confident, fluent speaker faster, especially if you can understand what I'm saying, then you will find that in the book. Can you add subtitles to all your videos? They do have closed captions. You can click on the little CC button on YouTube to watch those. Also, the videos in Fluent for Life all have interactive transcripts. So that's actual software we made so that you can click anywhere in the transcript and jump to that section of the video. That's one of I think, the coolest parts about learning in the program for being able to control how the video plays. Anyway, you can hear my voice dying over here. Yeah, お疲れ様ね。もう疲れた。あらもうお腹空いてるけどね。I need to get some food over here. Yes, you can also shadow my voice, but in Fluent for Life, you can shadow many speakers. And again, that's the nice thing about trying to get all of that input. It's multi-dimensional, naturally varied review. Anyway, get the book, read that, go back and watch the videos if you'd like. But no, it's morning. It's actually lunchtime now, almost noon here in Japan, about 11:50 in the morning. All right. Well, if you would like my voice, definitely get Frederick, because I basically teach you how to have my voice in Frederick. So you will learn how to sound like me, like all the drilling for pronunciation, sentences, all that stuff is in there. But have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.